Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. How's everybody doing? Hope you had a fantastic weekend. One quick one, just a little bit of kind of mopping up. Just let me know if the microphone sounds all right, because I've got two settings on my microphone, and one of them, for whatever reason, is slightly louder than the other one. I've got it on a different setting because the microphone's a little bit further away from me. Just let me know the microphone sounds okay, because I can always switch it back to the other one if needs be. So, how is everybody? Let's see who we've got in the chat tonight. Peter Nicholas was in nice and early, so good evening to Peter Nicholas. I think 20 to 7 he was in. Black Cleric was in a bit earlier on as well, so he's lurking and listening while he's painting a bit of War Cry. Have a top chat. Thank you very much, buddy. Mark Cox is in as well. He's lurking as well. Says have a good chat. Claudio said he can't make it tonight. Sorry, buddy. We'll catch you when you watch this back. Paul McElroy's in, and Christian Rees is in, and Voltmans is in as well. Good evening to you three gentlemen. Voltmans is painting up his Lich Lord from his Definitely Not Hero Quest set. I saw that stuff that you had, mate. It looked really cool. Al Krabby's in, Skullmunch is in, Steve Evans is in. Good evening to you three gentlemen too. I'll say in there that the cover art of the Tome of Champions is awesome, by the way. Yeah, it is pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, pretty cool. Where are we at? And we've got Mark Berracloth in as well. Good evening, Mark, with your new internet and your new home. I hope the move went nice and smoothly, mate. I hope everything was okay. Chat's moving quite fast tonight. I'm trying to keep up. Dan Hughes is in. Good evening, Dan. I was listening to your latest podcast today. Paul Palms is in. Green Tree's in. Hal Martin's in. Good evening to you, gents. 2+ Tough. Good evening, Doug. How are you doing? Hal Martin's in. Matt Mountain's in as well. He's saying it's hashtag Manic Monday again. It's not Manic Monday at this end of things, but I no doubt we'll chat about Kings of War later on as well. Stuart apologise for butchering your name here. My eyes are not what they used to be. Stu McMurtry. Good evening, and woohoo to you too, mate. Phil Wilkinson says Thanos was right. Will Season says it's all good. Cheers, buddy. I'm glad somebody was listening. Christopher Warden's in, says afternoon all. Good afternoon to you, Chris. Richard Smith's in. He said he got the missus to have a game of War Cry last night. How was that for progress, mate, eh? Phil saying put likes. Daniel Engleton as well says good day, everyone. Finally have a Monday off. Nice to see you, mate. How are you doing? Afterlife Kid is in. Says hi, everyone. Alex is saying the sounds good. Thanks, Alex. And Andy's saying he was at Element Games on Sunday. Was it the Scouring of Cheshire this weekend, mate, or were you just there for a few games? And Marcus Sunbom's in as well. Says evening, mates. Good evening to Marcus Sunbom. Right, Andy, the chat is going lively tonight. I need to try and find out where it's up to. It's jumping around all over the place. We've got Rob B in, we've got James Hart, we've got VJ Morph, we've got Glennon as well, we've got Robert Fannelson. Hello to all of you folks. Peter Nicholas is back. Animus Oculus is in. He says he's painting his Furies. Nice to see a bit of War Cry painting going on. James Mason is in as well. Says good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Christian saying microphone sounds all right. Flying Mama's in as well. Yeah, I don't know why I told you I was live this morning. I wonder if it's just when I first set it up, if it takes a little while to kind of adjust itself. Simon Parfitt's in. Julian Ankers is in as well. Says looking forward to hearing about the event at GW. We'll come to that in a bit. Busey's in as well. Andy Rice is in. And Daniel's working on more of his Blood Angels. Thomas is here. Chris says no hobby, listening at work as usual. I'll try and keep the noise down for you, mate. Flying Mama says hashtag Manic Monday as well. Robert says he's pleasantly shocked that GW added the new campaign stuff for War Cry. Gives me a slight bit more reason to at least try it. I'll come on to that in a bit, buddy. It's part of the so while I've got a bit of a break, I did pick this up at the weekend. Tome of Champions. I also went to Warhammer World and played in their first kind of official War Cry event. So I'll be talking about the event, talking about some of my games, telling you what I thought about it, and I'll also be telling you what I think about Tome of Champions, and combining that with Monsters and Mercenaries, the core rulebook, where I think the future's going, what's my own personal opinions, is it good, is it bad, am I enjoying it, that kind of stuff. Zach Rouse 99 says first time listening live. Good evening to you, buddy. I'm assuming it's evening. Dice Tales is in, Craig Lowther's in, Dustin Feeney's in. Hello, Dustin Feeney in Virginia, and hello to you guys. Palmsy's doing a bit of painting tonight, chat amongst yourselves. Phil, you do not have to apologise for not being a regular, mate. It's nice to see you when you're in, mate. Daniel says, stop taking me with Kings of War, and I have no willpower. Speaking of Kings of War, I painted up this last week. I was kind of pleased with myself actually getting that. That was my little treat, getting away from units. Chris says that background is throwing me off. Sorry, mate. I still haven't got a laptop to go into the new studio yet, so I'm having to deal with this. I had thought about getting a green screen for in here and just putting that behind me, and then I can choose whatever background I want when I'm having to do it from inside the house. So you might see that in the new year. Where we are, VJ saying, is it true Tome of Champions has rules for all the other AoS factions that weren't in the first card release? It's true that it hasn't got them in, mate. We'll come to that. Colton Lane's in as well, said he's picked up his War Cry starter on sale for $85 US. Bargain, mate. I did see on Warhammer World was saying that they'd found some copies in a storeroom or something, so they've been selling a few. Phil said he's very drunk, bad jokes going. Daniel saying shiny, Al Krabby saying it's a giant sheep, looks cool, mind. Yes, so let's get to the point. So yes, yesterday I was at the War Cry event at Warhammer World. There were, off the top of my head, I think there were 20 people took part. There was a few dropouts in the kind of at the last minute, as there always is in any event. But they'd set up 13 tables, so I assume they were expecting 26 people. But I think there was 20 there when I've looked at unless the kind of somebody took a photograph of this final standings, and unless it went over 2 pages, there was 20 on the page, I think it was. But yes, had an awesome day. So the event was basically 4 games over the day. We had registration at like 9 o'clock in the morning, a briefing at 9:30, and we kicked off about sort of 9:45, I think it was. Rounds lasted 90 minutes. There was a good break between each round as well, so you didn't feel like you had to kind of, you weren't rushing around a little bit. Nice hour for lunch as well, which had an absolutely awesome Sunday roast. Loads of beef and gravy and giant big Yorkshire pudding, which I couldn't eat everything of. It was an early start for me because I left from Newcastle and went down to play that morning. So because registration was 9 o'clock, I was on the road for about 5:30 a.m. So I was fine for the morning games. I was I was wide awake, plenty of coffee inside me. Sat down, had my beef dinner, my lunch, and then I could feel myself flagging in the afternoon. But that's no excuse for the way I played. Yeah, so 2 games in the morning, 2 games in the afternoon. We got given these sheets, which basically, and I'll take a picture and pop this up on the Facebook group so you can see what it is. But it basically showed us what round 1 was. Have I got this upside down? No, what round 1 was, what the victory condition was, and what the twist was in each of the things. And the tables were all set. We didn't have to rearrange terrain. So that kept things pretty simple. I took my Untamed Beast. I had been planning on taking my Corvus Cabal. Never managed to paint them in time. Not because I didn't have time, but I've been painting other stuff. And to be fair, I've played Untamed Beast the most, I think. I was more comfortable with how they played. I understood their abilities better. So I thought, I'm just going for some fun games. Why worry about it? And so I travelled down on my own. I got to meet Anna and Alan from Red Rose Wargaming. So if you haven't already checked out their channel, please do. They've got a YouTube channel as well where they do a lot of War Cry content where they've been playing against each other. And so I've been chatting with them online and stuff, and I got to meet them when I got down there. We had a cup of coffee and had a good old natter in the morning. I got to also meet, I wrote down some names because I'm terrible with names. I also got to meet Paul as well. Paul's flown over from Ireland, and he'd come over for the weekend as well, and he's in my Facebook group, so he'd mentioned he was coming, so it was nice to see him there as well. And then I obviously got chatting to a few people during the day, so it was really cool to hang out, and everyone was super friendly. Everybody was really it didn't feel like a really serious tournament. I'll come on to that in a second. So first game, I played my Untamed Beast against a gentleman called Luca, who'd actually come all the way from Australia, not specifically for this event, but he'd come to the UK and was playing in this event while he was there. And Luca was playing Corvus Cabal. So thankfully, after playing Ruth at the Weekender, I was quite familiar with the Corvus Cabal and some of their little tricks. So we played the first round, and it was Unseen Blade was the deployment, and Vantage Point was the victory. So essentially, it ended after 3 battle rounds, and whoever controlled the objective at the end of the 3rd battle round was the winner. And this was a really close, cagey game, as you can imagine. Plenty of movement from the crows, and my Untamed Beasts, obviously with things like. With what's he called? The cat. I forget his name now. My brain's a bit of a mush. Was kind of super quick as well. My first Fang with his spear as well. So I managed to steal the win on this one, and it literally came down to the last movement of the game. I had the last activation, and I managed to run a guy in within 3 of the objective, which gave me more models around the objective than Luca did. Really, really nice guy. He played it right. It wasn't really any kind of major mistakes. I tried to use my first Fang to pull his kind of the leader guy with the big wings to try and pull him off. I completely whiffed that and missed it, so it didn't work out. And otherwise, that might have given me a bit more of a comfortable edge. But as it happened, I didn't need it. I managed to run in, so that gave me a narrow win. And because I hadn't killed more than half of his warband, that gave me 15 points out of a maximum 20. And we also played with, I forget what they're called now, the hidden agendas. So basically, there were 6 hidden agendas to choose from. You choose one for each round, and once you'd chosen it, you couldn't use it again. And in that particular one, I forget which one I'd chosen, but I scored an extra point for that hidden agenda. So that put me on 16 points after the first game. So I was pretty happy with that one. I then went into the second game, and I played against Dan Bird, and he had his Nighthaunt. I'd never played Nighthaunt before. I wasn't sure what to expect from that. And what also kind of played with things a little bit in this one was the victory condition was the Comet, which is essentially we roll a dice on the 2nd battle round, and on a 1, 2, 3, 4, it comes down in one of those 4 corners. On a 5 or a 6, it comes down exactly in the center, and it ends after 3 rounds, whoever's controlling the objective. The interesting thing was the twist. Basically, fighter that begins its move action on the battlefield floor, subtract 1 from the move characteristic of that fighter until the end of the move action. But it doesn't affect fighters with the fly rune mark. Now, of course, Nighthaunt all fly, which didn't really help me. I was a lot slower in this particular game. But as it happened, we played the first round. Because there was no objective on the battlefield at this point, it was really kind of, well, where are we trying to get to? So I was trying to kind of spread things around a little bit. There were quite dense terrain on this board as well. There was a bell tower almost in the center and lots of kind of buildings as well. We rolled on the second turn, and of course it came down slap bang in the center. And it came down in the center, which was almost, it was kind of blocked on 4 sides. So it created some really narrow little kind of corridors to try and get along to get to that center. You slow, as I mentioned before, the twist meant you lose 1 movement if you start on the battlefield floor. So I tried to spend as much of my movement as I could starting from high up on top of the terrain, which kind of helped. And again, it was a super close game. I managed to get my Rocktusk Prowler. I managed to get it quite close. But because of these narrow corridors, there was another model in front of it which was blocking its way. I really had to kind of rack my brains and think about how I could move around the terrain and stuff. And as it happened, I think towards the end of the move, I managed to climb a model up the stairs to the bell tower, climb around the edge, and then drop down behind it, which was the only gap available for me to get a model into it. And that was the model that basically won me that objective again. I didn't manage to win my hidden agenda in that one, so that got me 15 points for that one. So that put me on a total of 31 points out of a maximum of 40. And at that point, I was sitting 3rd in the table, so I was pretty happy with that. I'd expected to go not win any games. I was going for some kind of just a bit of fun, and I was really kind of I was really happy with 2 wins, two minor wins, but 2 wins nonetheless. And like I say, I was sitting in 3rd place at that point. So we went for our lunch. As I say, lunch was really nice. My third game, I was drawn against Liam, and Liam was running Iron Jaws. Now, Liam's list was, I forget exactly what models he had, but it was only six models, so it was mainly brutes. And the victory condition in this one was basically a player wins the battle as soon as every fighter and his opponent's hammer is taken down. Now, unfortunately, my hammer had two, I think, was it not prey takers, is it? Is it prey takers? It might be. I had the two prey takers, which are 10 models each. 10 wounds each, I should say. So basically, he had to take out 20 wounds worth of models, and I had to take out 40 wounds worth of models, which was two of his brutes on the other side of the board. Now I thought I stand a bit better. It's going to be tough to take them out, but I kind of have a better chance because of the movement bonus that I had. The twist in this one as well was we add 1 to the strength characteristic as well. If you have a range of 3 or less, which I thought actually he was already going to be stronger anyway, so he was always going to be rolling on 3s and 4s. I would have been at a bit of a disadvantage if I kind of, with this twist, it probably got me to 4s, down from 5s maybe. So that would kind of give me a little bit of a help. The hammers deployed at opposite sides of the boards, and as it happened, I'd never played Iron Jaws before as well. I didn't know how their war worked. I didn't know they had this kind of super 6-inch charge on a double, and I was not expecting them to get across the board as fast as they did. One of his models basically came right from his deployment zone, right the way across to where my hammer was, charged and hit them, and it did 10 wounds. There was crits all over the place, and killed one of their models in one attack. So that left me with one model to defend pretty much from his first or second activation. So I was really on the back foot at this point. I then had to just basically spend the rest of the game trying to run this model away into some kind of safety. I climbed up a building and jumped off it, or fell from it basically, to try and get away. Of course, I rolled a 6 for damage and took 3 wounds, so he was down to 7 wounds anyway. And from that point on, he had models dotted around which were ready to charge second turn if he got plenty of doubles. We rolled the hero dice. He got 3 doubles in that hero dice thing, and yeah, I was right on the back foot. I hardly got a wound on him. I was spending so much time trying to run away, so I lost that game. He basically he took out the 2 models that he had to take out. I forget what his hidden agenda was, but he got that as well. So he took 21 points from that, and I took none. I didn't take any points at all. So it wasn't a disaster. At this point, nobody was on 3 wins. There was still a chance for me to kind of come back. So in my last game, I played against Pete, and he was playing Splintered Fang. Another really nice guy as well. I'll kind of mention the four guys I played. And he had a pretty decent Splintered Fang list. There was a lot of snakes in there. And in this last game, we basically played No Mercy, which was you basically win the battle as soon as you've taken out half of your opponent's warband. And the twist here was that you add 1 to attacks and 1 to strength characteristic for any fighters that had taken 1 or more damage points. So once you'd taken a bit of damage, you became kind of stronger, which was interesting. Now, because he'd done a little bit of list building with his, I literally took my Untamed Beasts straight from the box, no list building, normal box. And he had obviously done a little bit of list building. He had 11 activations in his warband. I had 9 in mine. So he was out activating me. And to be fair, I think I played this one wrong. I should have clumped together and focused attacks on the 3 separate deployments and try and take them out en masse. And I didn't. I ended up trying to kind of spread myself too thin. I was trading blows. So I'd take one of his models out. He would come and take one of my models out. And it got to a point where I thought, trading blows like this isn't going to work. He only has to take out 5 of my models. I have to take out 6 of his models. He was hiding these snakes out of the way as well, which were the easy ones to take out. But what it was meaning was I was having to charge in to try and attack him, which was leaving me kind of exposed for that return. And he spent a lot of actions basically waiting, kind of using the wait action to get me to out-activate. I could have waited myself and kind of played that same game, but then we would have just been kind of sitting waiting against each other. And I thought I'd try and get the upper hand by kind of coming out strong. As it happened, it didn't really work out for me, and I knew before it got to a point where I knew there wasn't much I could do. My first Fang, I had him picked him in the center, and he was picking off the snakes with his spear. But I just basically kind of played it wrong. I think I was a bit fried by that point. Yeah, I played it wrong, but Pete played really, really well, and he played it exactly how he should have done. And basically, because I had to take out half of his warband, I think I picked my secret agenda thing was to take out half of his warband, or was to take out his leader model and not have my leader model dead. And I didn't achieve that either. So I got 0 points on my last game as well. So I went from 3rd place at lunchtime, and I dropped right down the rankings. I think I was something like, let me just get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I was 15th overall, which, to be funny, if I'd gone in the morning and said you're going to win 2 games and lose 2 games, I'd be quite happy with that. But I think I kind of got a bit of nosebleed being in 3rd place at the halfway point. So, all 4 games, I really enjoyed it. I just saw somebody there saying, so I enjoyed OP. No, it was purely around, I hadn't played them before. I didn't know to expect that war and the charge. And had I known they did that, then I might have done something different with my first activations to try and goad him into coming a different way, or blocking the charges and stuff. So it was my inexperience. It wasn't anything to do with kind of it wasn't this kind of like gotcha moment or anything like that. It was just I hadn't played them before, which was the point of going to the event, to be fair, was to try and play more games and see some more warbands. So out of 4 games, I played 3 games against warbands I'd never played before. In that respect, it was a really good day. So if I flick across to here, this is the photograph. Thank you very much, Anna. I've just seen Red Rose Wargaming in the chat. I mentioned you earlier on. Anna took this picture, and I graciously stole it from Facebook. So the guy I played in my 3rd game, who absolutely nailed me, was Liam, who won the event. So Iron Jaws won the event. And like I say, it was mainly brutes, I think. So it might have been 5 brutes and maybe one of the odd boys it might have been. But yeah, he played it really well. He also took best painted as well, and I think he also took best favorite game player, like sort of best sport as well. So really nice guy, really nice models, and obviously knew exactly what he was doing as well. So Liam took the win there. Dan, who I beat in my 2nd game, he finished 5th overall with his Nighthaunt. He won his 1st game, he lost his 2nd game against me, he drew his 3rd game and won his 4th game. So nobody actually won all 4 games. Even Liam basically won 3 at max points and drew his 2nd game. Luca, who I played in my 1st game, he finished 2, 4, 6, 8, and he finished 9th. And Pete, who I played in my 4th game, finished 2, 4. He finished 6th. So the 3 players I played, even the 2 that I beat, all finished ahead of me. And it was that kind of a day, really. People were taking wins and taking draws off each other. As you can see from the list here, it was interesting to see a lot of Warcry factions, the Chaos factions. There was only in there was Iron Jaws, there was a Nighthaunt, there was an Ideneth Deepkin, there's a Stormcast, a 2nd Iron Jaws in there as well. Everything else was Corvus Cabal, Splintered Fang, all the others. Unmade finished 2nd, Iron Golems finished 3rd. So it gives you an idea of it. There's a few people mentioning there nobody playing Gits. Nobody really treated it as this mega competitive, kind of uber competitive tournament. Everybody came for a fun day out, and everybody came basically to enjoy more games. And that was definitely the feeling that went through that kind of complete event. And I think what's very different about this game, and what certainly seemed to come across from playing against the guys I played against, is that there are very few, if any, rules queries or rules questions or questioning somebody's interpretation of the rules. Everybody knew the rules, no matter how experienced they were, whether they played many games or not many games at all. Everybody kind of knew their rules. And the only questions that we had for each other were things like, Do you think this is in? Do you think this is within range? Are you happy I can move from here, move around there, and climb down there, or whatever? And it was almost just clarifying that are we both happy with how this is going to kind of play out? So because we weren't sort of deep in kind of locked horns with the rules, you were really playing the tactics out. No matter how much experience you had, you were really using the tactics that was at your disposal. And as you can see from the mix of different warbands that were on there, people obviously were really keen on the War Cry side of it. I think the more competitive players seem to have kind of kept to AoS and that kind of stuff. So it was not what I expected, but it was really, really fun. So yeah, alongside kind of Luca, Dan, Liam and Pete, who I played, if any of those guys ever watch this, thank you very much for your games. It was very difficult to pick out my best sports because every single one of those 4 games were awesome. I also spoke to Paul as well. Paul, I forget his surname, Shorten. So nice to see you, buddy. I hope your flight back to Ireland was nice and safe. Anna and Alan, who were in the chat tonight as well from Red Rose Wargaming. Awesome to meet you too, and I look forward to us getting some games in the future. And also Alistair as well, who I think Alistair had got max points, I think, from his first 2 games. And we sat and had lunch together with a group of us, and he also came over and said, "Are you the guy that did the War Cry terrain stuff? Thank you very much." So it was quite nice to kind of to meet him as well. So yeah, really, really good. Let me have a quick look at some of the comments here in the chat, because there's a lot of... I'm just going to dive down a little bit further. We've got Millennium Falcon in as well. Hey, buddy, how are you doing? I've seen you in a little while. Red Rose Wargaming, Anna there saying, good to see you got home. Yeah, it wasn't too bad, actually. The journey was awesome. It was really wet, and it was quite hard getting out of Nottingham, actually, because the weather was awful, and there was quite a bit of flooding. But once I got on the motorways, it seemed to clear up a bit. It wasn't too bad at all. Dice Tail saying was expecting more goblins for competitive. People just didn't come with that attitude. It was a really cool. And what I would suggest, and maybe it'll change in the future, and we'll come on to reasons why I think that might be the case. But I would recommend it. It was well run. It went to time. Everybody was super friendly. The facilities at Warhammer World are all obviously first class. So yeah, I would recommend the War Cry event there again. Tim Kelly's in as well. Hello, buddy. Edward Pickens in as well. Nice to see you, fella. Where we are, people chatting a bit about the Iron Jaws there. Mark were asking who won. We just had a chat about that. Doug saying 50-50 win-loss is awesome. I was really happy, mate. I kind of got a nosebleed by lunchtime, I think, getting after 2 wins. I was not expecting that. Christian saying the double ability of the Orcs is only available if there is a visible enemy within 6 inches. The triple, however, is a very useful effect. Yeah, so how we basically played it was, and obviously it relies a lot upon getting a triple, because you can always get a double. So even if you roll your 6 dice and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you've got your wild dice that will give you a double. So you can always get that 6-inch charge off at least once. If you can get that triple off, then that's different. So he managed to get a triple and 2 doubles, I think, from his initial 6 dice and his wild dice. And that really gave him some speed that I wasn't expecting. I knew to expect it in the second round, in the second turn, but it really did give him some abilities. So I think what he did was he used his leader to use the triple to give the war, which gave the ones that were deployed around him, gave them the extra movement. And it might have been, I think it might have been a 666 as well. I can't remember if that's important or not, if that's how many extra inches they get, because I have a feeling he basically kind of moved 9 inches across the board. And then did their charge basically afterwards, which was then another 6 inches. So we're talking like, what's that off the top of my head, like 15 inches across the board. The boards are not that big really, so that was quite huge. That got them straight across and straight into me. And had I realised that was the case, they would have been the first models I activated, and I would have got them out of the way. So yeah, and then in the second round, I think he rolled like three doubles. So I knew by that point there was lots of models available to get 6-inch charges off, which kind of basically was the end of me really. The only thing I should have done was I should have used the universal ability to heal my model up. I had a 333, I think it was. I could have used to heal my model up 3 wounds, would have put me back to 10. And as it happened actually, when he took me out, one of his models had missed basically. When he did take me out, he took me out on exactly the 7 wounds that I had left. So if I'd healed up, that would have survived me an extra round. But he would have got me next turn. It wouldn't have changed the result at all. Let's have a look. Flying Mammal saying, which faction was the fave you played against? It was quite. I wouldn't say I enjoyed the Iron Jaws, but not because of the kind of the guy playing or the way he played. I felt not caught out. I just felt there wasn't much I could do. It wasn't a scenario that favoured me. I only had those 2 models. I was up against it, trying to take kind of 40 wounds of his. And actually, the game was over with that fast. I didn't really get to see what they were like if they didn't get that kind of fast movement off to let me get further away. So I'd like to play them again. It would make me interested to give them a try as well, because I do have the cards and I do have the models. I've just never even read them. The cards are still in the packet. I've not even opened the packet yet. So I've not read the cards, foolishly. Yeah, let me flick back to the main screen. So yeah, Nighthorns was quite cool to play against them. I did take out half of his warband, but then he managed to bring one of them back, which I completely forgot they could come back. So that was quite interesting to see. Splintered Fang, I'd not played against them yet. It was interesting to see a list with a lot of snakes in there. They did a few tricky things about kind of poison and stuff, which was quite interesting. So, to be honest, I'm not really sure which one my favourite. I like the Corvus Cabal because they're a one I've played against. They're a one I want to play when I get them painted. So I would probably say my favourite game was against Corvus Cabal. But that was from a faction point of view. That was just because I kind of like them. Dan, who I played against second game, I think was probably my favourite game of the day because it was so close. He knew exactly what he was doing. I was kind of on my game that day. And it was so close, but we had a good laugh while we were playing as well. So I think Dan was potentially my favourite game of the day, but that's not to kind of to say anything against the other guys. Bit of chat here. Glyn saying exactly how my War Cry weekend went: 2 wins and then went horse. Hal saying it would be 4 brutes and at most and 2 hard boys. I think that's what it was, buddy. Yeah, I was trying to work it out today. There was definitely. It was definitely brutes basically that came rushing at me though, that's for sure. No holds in a gash, that's right. Alan's, have I just missed Alan? Alan's saying hello as well. Hello, buddy. Mark was saying that's great, otherwise you would have seen so many snakes and gits. Mark says, what are the kill points? So kill points were just how many points worth of models you took out during the total event. So basically, I spent a lot of time trying to play the scenario and not worrying too much about taking stuff out. Obviously, in my second game, I think I hardly even took a swing. I was concentrating on trying to use what I could to throw models at them to block routes to try and get my models away. So yeah, I didn't do very well. And I think I got the second least kill points at 960 out of a possible 4,000. But top on kill points was Iron Golems, who finished third on 2,155. So they were strong for kill points. Let's have a look. Where am I up to now? Hal saying, I find War Cry tourneys have a really relaxed atmosphere due to simplistic rules for the game. Sure, it can be quite tactical, but it's somewhat beer and pretzels type of game. Don't get me wrong, it was competitive. Everybody wanted to win, but it wasn't a win at all cost. Even playing the game, there was some cinematic elements to it where it felt really cool. Doug's mentioned this before as well about those kind of memorable moments in a game, and I really felt that there was a few points in the game. The one where I basically ran up the steps, climbed around the bell tower, and dropped down the back to clinch the objective at the end. The one where my first Fang was throwing his spear at the Corvus Cabal leader to pull him off the objective, and he completely missed it. The bit where the first Fang was throwing the spear across and trying to spear snakes to try and kill them off. It all felt really quite thematic as we were playing the games as well. Just a kind of why we're talking about that as well. So I played across a number of different tables. I think the first game I played was on the Shattered Storm Vault terrain, and was actually much more fun than you'd imagine for it being quite one level. We had the two big buildings either side with the bridge across the middle, and the token was right in the middle of the bridge. So that it was quite thematic fighting across this kind of token on the bridge. It was very much kind of tug of war across the top. Second one I played on, I think it was like the starter set with a bell tower, but it was covered in snow, so it was a really kind of quite thematic board. Third game I played on, I forget it might have been the kind of the core set terrain again, but was laid out quite tightly packed. And the fourth game I played on the Shattered Storm Vault again, but all beautiful tables. Warhammer World. What do you expect? Glincy and Andy, when's weekend of 3? We've not even managed to get together to chat about it yet, mate. I've not actually seen I've seen Jay once face to face since the weekender because I forgot my power cable, so I had to go back for it a few days later. And we've chatted and stuff, but I've not actually seen him face to face to talk about it yet. Christian saying, feeling it might be around the end of March to mid-April. We did toy with the idea of May time, I think it was April, May time, but we've not nailed anything down yet. Bluggy's in as well, saying late at the party, hope you had a great weekend. I know Andy did. I did have a good weekend, mate. Thank you very much. Where we up to? Luke Pryor's in as well. Good evening, Luke. Says just started watching your stuff because of a podcaster called Dan Hughes. Thank you very much, mate. Dan is an awesome podcaster. If anybody hasn't listened to Dan's podcast, it's into board gaming. It's predominantly board gaming, but he has mentioned some War Cry stuff in the past as well. It's sporadically board. Really, really cool board game podcast. So if you're looking for something new to listen to, please do check that out. Where we at? Doug saying, did you feel like the missions deployments were well chosen? I didn't feel that they were unbalanced. The only one I would say was the one where it basically slowed you down, where it took a point of movement away. I felt I'm never a big fan of extra kind of rules that negatively affect things. I always feel like it creates a negative experience. In my game, it affected me more than it affected my opponent because he had a lot of models that fly. If you're Iron Jaws and you're doing 3-inch movement and you lose an inch of movement, it's potentially going to kind of hurt you. As an example, that was the one where Liam, the guy that won, that was the one where he basically got a draw in that game, so it potentially could have hindered him a little bit. So I'm never keen on rules that negatively affect things. However, that said, the rules are in the game. I thought the missions, the win conditions, we kind of had 2 objective based in the morning, 2 much more kill kind of orientated in the afternoon. I think they went really quite well, to be fair. And the layout, we actually got quite nice. The one I played third game against Iron Jaws, the way the terrain was set out, across the 2 long edges of the board, there was kind of V-shaped buildings. And as it happened, that was where our hammer came on. So they came on protected behind these 2 corners kind of thing. Apart from when he managed to charge that kind of full distance. But it was kind of thematic, as if they were trying to protect themselves and they were tucked away in the corner. That was cool to see. Let's have a look further down. Flying Mammoth, do you know if another one is planned? I'm not sure. They said yesterday to kind of give some feedback. Did you enjoy it? Turnout was kind of, let's say, 20 people out of a possible kind of 26. I think that we're down for it. I would like to see potentially maybe some kind of campaign event, I think. The game lends itself a little bit more that way, I think. But when I come onto the Future of Warcry, remind me that question again, and I'll tell you why I've got some kind of different feelings about it. Where are we at? We've got Warforge in as well. He says, hi all, just become a Patreon. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Warforge, I've just seen something pop up on my phone. I assume you're Craig. Thank you very much, buddy. That is really, really kind of you. Make sure that you check out in the Patreon comments. Now you're a Patreon, you can see those hidden comments, and you'll see there's a link to the Discord channel. Make sure you come across and join in the chat in our Discord group as well. And I know Christian's just shared the link earlier on as well. If anybody would like to support the future of the channel, I do have a Patreon account, which for as little as $2 a month, you can get access to the Discord group. And then with more kind of higher pledge levels, there are other rewards as well, which will unlock, such as, I think, off the top of my head, I think the $20 a month one basically gets you a free T-shirt after a number of months of pledging, and it is a limited T-shirt that only goes to Patreon pledges. It won't go to anybody else. It'll never be for sale, for example. So there's some things in there like that as well. Where we at? Yeah, I'm trying to read between people's comments and the ones that are chatting. Red Rose Wargaming, Anna there saying they thought it was good. To Doug there, they varied the missions, which meant some were strong, others were weak. I played another Iron Jaws list and he struggled to capture objectives. Yeah, I get the impression that that Liam, who I played, knew exactly what he was doing. He was a good player. James Q's in as well. He says, wow, first time being able to watch live. The perks of being on holidays. Nice one, buddy. Daniel saying, got all your War Cry terrain done. Everything is painted, mate. All my War Cry stuff is all painted. If you have a look on my channel, the video where I did the token giveaway, I set up all 4 boards and all 4 lots of terrain just to see how it would look together. Anna's saying there, he killed 925 points of my list in the Kill the Hammer game. I managed to win with my last Mindbound Thrall dealing a point of damage. That's right, with a throwing star, wasn't it? Where we at? Bit more chat. Where are we at there? King John's in as well. He says, hey guys, Evening Andy, happy to make it. Nice to see you, King John. Alan says, Big Dave the Breacher only killed one thing all day. You need bigger Dave, mate. He definitely needs to come on the board. Doug is saying there, I get the feeling regarding the slowdown, I feel like those extra rules should always add things rather than subtract them. Yes, I agree as well. I think anything that creates a negative play experience can always feel wrong. If you can give people a boost, but if you give it equally to both players, that feels nice. So if you're getting an extra dice to roll every time you attack, for example, or you get an extra wild dice at the start of the game, or something like that, it feels balanced. But if you have something that affects you negatively, and there are instances where it will affect some warbands more than others, then it feels a little bit weird. Where we Mark saying, I know you're loving Kings of War paint at the minute, but do you think you'll get your burrs and badges painted? I definitely will, buddy. Yeah, they've been built. They've been all the bases have been done. They've been primed. They're ready to go soon. So what I'm doing is I'm painting up my Kings of War stuff. As a bit of a break between kind of doing units, I'm doing something different. So as I showed before, I painted up one of the bigger models for Kings of War. I'll paint another unit of Kings of War, and then I'll paint some of my burrs and badges stuff, and I'll kind of mix in and out, mate. So yes, I'll definitely be getting them painted. But they're awesome models. Why would I not want to paint them and play a couple of games? Paul saying, Jane Steve gave me some stick for wearing my BlackJack t-shirt at Scouring. Paul, you're a legend, mate. Yeah, I wish I'd seen a picture of that. Dice Guy's in as well. Nice to see you, mate. How you doing? Chat backwards and forwards there. And Peter, you're chatting about diets and stuff. So awesome weekend at Warhammer World. The Future of Warcry and Tome of Champions. This little beauty here. What do I think? Basically, for those that don't know, Tome of Champions is very much, I would say, narrative player focused. There's a little bit of information about open play at the start, which I thought was quite cool, and this is around kind of how to set up terrain. So if you haven't got those terrain cards, if you haven't bought any of those sets with the terrain cards in, there's a couple of pages, 4 pages I think is at the start, which give you a way to kind of generate terrain by rolling on a table. So if you roll a D3, on a 1 you get sparse terrain, on a 2 you get medium terrain, on a 3 you get dense terrain. You can use so many large scenery features, so many small features. And I think this is used in Age of Sigmar as well. And there is ways to basically use this in matched play as well if both kind of opponents agree. So I think that's quite a nice addition. So if you haven't bought any of those sets and you don't basically have all of the cards and stuff, it's kind of like an organized way to do it. So that we've got that at the start of the book. We've then got Monstrous Melees. which is it sounds like a really fun game to kind of like an alternative way to play. And this basically sees up to 6 players playing together with one. Is it a gargantuan? I think they call it there. Basically, one of the big monsters, and it's just like a big monster battle, basically. And they've got some kind of special rules for that. I'd love to play a 6-player go of that. I'd also love to film one for the channel. I think that kind of stuff is much more kind of. It'll be quite fun to see on the channel. I think. We then have a big section on narrative play, and in here there are lots of different. Kind of like the missions with the convergences, the same as what we have in the core book, but some new ones for the different factions. And there's some in here for the factions that haven't had their cards released yet. So Slayers to Darkness, Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Ogre Moor Tribes, Caradron Overlords, Disciples of Tzeentch, Skaven, Warrior Chamber, which is the Stormcast, Beasts of Chaos, Fire Slayers, Sylvaneth, Sacrosanct Chamber, which is the other Stormcast, Blades of Khorne, Maggotkin of Nurgle, Head Knight of Slaanesh, Seraphon. So as you can see, that tells us that all of those factions are coming in the future, and that So they've got basically those new, what they called again. Like the missions, the narrative campaign missions. That's what I was thinking of. So there's all of those in there as well. There's some spoils of victory as well. So there's some new things that you can get. They then have a big section on fated quests, which is some extra stuff in there as well. If I can flick through those ones. So as you can see how much I'm flicking through here, so much narrative stuff in here. There is also the challenge battles, which is. Also is a kind of another way to play, and as part of your kind of campaign, your narrative campaign, you can do these challenge battles where it's kind of like a bit more risk and reward by setting a campaign, setting a challenge up, and if you win the challenge, you get some benefits. If you lose the challenge, you take a bit of a knockback. So there's some of those in there. There's a Trial of Champions section, which essentially is a much more in-depth kind of narrative experience. So basically, this is where we have a critical injury table to roll on, and you can take injuries and damages that can see you basically wiped out of the campaign. That can see you basically losing an eye, getting kind of. So we've got things like cracked ribs, blinded in one eye, fractured arms, broken legs, concussion, basically slain as well. So you can really take some damage and lose warriors from your warband that can't come back to fight again. The other side of this is there are some really cool effects that come in. Artifacts that you can get. We then have Roman beasts as well. So in some of the cards which tell you to bring in one of the kind of the chaotic beasts from the core set, you can bring some of these beasts instead. So we've got like wild cave squigs, we've got wild fellwater troggoths, a wild rockgood troggoth, a restless tomb banshee, a grave guard, skeletons, chain rasps, spirit hosts, white kings, and cairn wraiths. So you've got some alternative kind of beasts to bring in. Then we have background tables. So you know where you can roll up the names of your characters. We have these background tables for all of the cards that have yet to come out. So all of those new AoS factions like Warrior Chamber, Slayers to Darkness, Bone Reapers, Ogres, Caradron, Skaven, Tzeentch, all the things I mentioned before. So I'll flick past all of those. You've then got a section on match play, which has got some new pitched battles for the 2019-2020 season. So if you're playing in any organised events, these will probably be the ones that you will see. There's some hidden agendas in there as well. There's some talk about escalation tournaments. There's an update to campaign rules. And then you have the fighter cards in here, which are for the card packs that were already released when the game was new. So that's a nice touch if you didn't manage to pick up those cards. So that's what's in here. Pluses and minuses. So, positives, I like the fact that this is still optional. The way Warcry seems to be releasing is, imagine you buy a computer game and you complete the mission. So think of the campaigns from the Warcry core book as the main single player mission from a computer game. Once you've completed it, you can go back and play it again, but maybe you want to play something else. So the Monsters and Mercenaries book and this Tome of Champions book almost become kind of DLC, a bit of downloadable content that expand the game further, but, and I have to kind of express this, they are optional. If you just want to play Warcry the way I've played kind of previously and the way I played in the tournament yesterday, if you just want to play it out of the box, you don't need to buy the next 2 books. You could say that you need to buy this Tome of Champions because it's got the cards in, and that's a faction you want to play, and you couldn't get the cards at the time. That's slightly different, and I'll come on to that bit in a second. However, they are still optional books. Both books are very, very narrative focused. If you're not a narrative player and you just want to play competitive match play games, you might want to give this book a miss. Unless, of course, you want to see all of the cards and all of that kind of stuff. What else was I going to say there? I like the way they're adding stuff in. So there's some fun stuff in there about the monster battles. I like the monster stuff from Monsters and Mercenaries, that it kind of give it a little bit of extra stuff. I like what they're doing with the new campaign stuff with the injury rules. It's making the campaigns feel like you've got a bit more invested in your warband. You don't want them to get injured. Some things are temporary and some things are permanent. So I like the fact that they are still continuing to release more new stuff for this game, and it is all optional stuff if you want to play in that way. That's all positive. Negatives about it. I do not like the way they've put all of the campaign stuff into this book for the factions that don't have cards released yet. I would have liked to have seen the cards come out first and the factions come out later, or have the cards for those factions in the book alongside those campaigns, even if it was a separate book, so then it was optional to the people that want to buy that stuff. I don't like the way there's a big chunk of that book has been devoted to stuff that isn't available here and now, if you like. They might come next week, they might come the week after. It still feels wrong in the order it's been released. I also don't like the fact that the cards, we now know those cards are going to be limited release. So what will happen is I've bought this book now. If I want to play through that narrative missions, I'm going to have to pick up the card pack for those particular warbands. It doesn't matter if I want to play them in January, February, or if I want to play them in October. I'm going to have to pick them up now because I know they're going to sell out. I know they're not going to be available later in the year, and I'd imagine Tome of Champions 2020 we'll see next December, the same time all the other annuals come out. So I either have to dive in and pick up those card packs as soon as they come out and buy them all as soon as they come out, or accept that I probably won't be able to get them when I need them later, because everybody's going to rush out and buy them, aren't they? Everyone's going to rush out and buy them now, knowing that last time they sold out, and maybe they might be able to make a few quid off them if they don't use them or whatever. I've still got card packs from the first wave I've not even opened, and probably won't ever open. And to be honest, I might just sell them on to somebody for the price I paid for them, so they can get some use out of them. Now I've got all that stuff in the book anyway. I'd rather play with the cards, if I'm honest. But I don't like the way it's basically, they're going to sell out. I have to decide day one, do I intend on playing any of these factions in the next 12 months? Because if I do, I'm going to have to pick them up now. So yeah, there's that side of it. The thing that worries me most about the future of the game from a tournament standpoint and from a kind of competitive standpoint, matched player, is everything that we know about, we might not know everything. Everything we know about is all new, existing AoS factions. I think it's quite obvious to everybody that the balance between AoS factions and Warcry factions isn't that perfect. It's fine when you're playing kind of sort of friendly games with your mates or whatever, just re-rack and start again kind of thing if it's a bit one-sided. However, going forward, there are going to be a lot more AoS factions, and my gut feel is because there's no points changes in here, so these are going to be the points to all of the stuff that's in here, all the cards that's already come out, nothing's been kind of like changed or anything. I feel like the game is going to become AoS Warcry. It's going to become AoS Skirmish, and it's going to be less about the Warcry setting and the Warcry warbands than the bit I love. That's the world. That's the kind of these little kind of secret warbands, these new factions that don't have an allegiance to any particular kind of chaos god. I like that stories. I love the anthology and reading them stories. I don't personally really want to just see all of AoS come in and wipe through it. I'd like to have seen some newer factions coming out, and I know there's still two that we haven't seen yet, with the Scions of the Flame and the Spire Tyrants. But even their cards are not in here. They don't. They're not like kind of mentioned. I don't know when we're going to see them. I know they're being worked on, but they're not coming. And even if they do come very soon, how long before we see anything else added into the Warcry setting? So I do worry a little bit about this is just going to become AoS kind of skirmish, if you like, because we're just going to see Skaven and Caradhran Overlords and all that stuff come bounding through. So I worry a little bit about that. However, does it make it a bad game? Not at all. I still love the game. I still love playing. Yesterday showed me how much it kind of reignited how much I enjoy playing Warcry. I will still continue to play it. I'm going to try and start playing through some of these narrative campaign missions. But I do get the feeling that if I want to kind of keep up with the game, if you like, it's moving into AoS and away from Warcry. And maybe that was always the plan. I don't know, but that's kind of where I feel. That's where I feel the game's going. I mentioned this before as well about the card packs. I don't like the way they're going to be kind of limited releases, and then we'll have to wait until the end of the year to kind of to mop them up with another tome. But I do like the way that they are releasing sort of additional content, downloadable content, if you like, and it's optional. You can choose to buy it, you can choose to ignore it, it doesn't make a difference. The core rules are the core rules. There's no changes to the rules in here. There's no addition to the rules that make it kind of a different game again. It's not growing arms and legs. They are adding lots more to it as a narrative experience. But the core game, the match play side of it, is still that same stuff. Right, let's go back and pick out some of these bits and pieces. Where are we at? Carrie is saying, "Hi Andy, can you tell me what Tome of Champions is for Warcry?" Hopefully, I've explained that, mate. I hope that's okay. Where are we at? Doug saying, "Magkin, I love." VJ saying, "So when do we get the damn cards?" I can only imagine they're coming soon, like early January. I can't imagine they're going to wait too long when they've already released this book now. It doesn't make sense for them to be too far apart. I'd have preferred they came out at the same time. The card packs are like $5 each, so it's not like it's kind of a really expensive purchase. I'd rather they'd release this alongside the cards if they're going to do it that way. Of course, I'd have preferred the cards to come out and the stuff to be in that book as well. But yeah, that was never going to happen, was it? Andy says, "Where did you buy the acrylic Warcry tokens from that you used at Weekender?" I got them from Buy the Same Token, mate. They were sent to me for a review. I did a kind of a bit of a review on them on the channel, and I did a video with a giveaway, which Mark Berraclough won. And you'll need to get in touch now. You've got your new address, mate. We'll get them sent out to you. And yeah, awesome quality. A bit more pricey, I think, than some other acrylic token places. But the quality kind of, how do I put it? The price is, you're paying a good price for good quality kind of thing, because they really are sharp and really good quality. VJ saying, "I want to do a Seraphon Warcry band." Yeah, I think there's a few people kind of have their favourites that they're all waiting for. Doug saying he wasn't a fan of releasing the campaigns but not the cards. Yeah, I think that's me and you both, buddy. Or at least having them up for pre-order. Yeah, I just assumed they would do them at the same time. I thought they were just going to kind of say, Tome of Champions is out, and by the way, the cards are out as well. Like, why not? Why not call this 2020 and release it in January alongside the cards? Why call it 2019? when basically it's came out with like 2 weeks of 2019 left. Why not just call it 2020 and release it in the like second week of January or something? Noxie saying here, people back from a Christmas meal at Blackfriars. Nice restaurant, mate, as well. I hope you enjoyed the meal. Peter says, I assume it's good fun to play. Do you play it one-off or campaigns? I've tended to play one-off games because most of the games I've played have been against players who have maybe only just picked it up. I've been doing demo games. I've been kind of teaching people how to play. So I've played it with kind of lots of different people and did mainly one-off games. Now we're starting to kind of grow a little bit of a scene up here in the Northeast. Campaigns are starting to kick off and stuff, and I think that's probably where I'll move into next. Doug saying, I like how losing eye can be temporary. Yeah, maybe in the Bloodwind Spoils they have some kind of corrective surgery. Glenn saying the campaign has improved with the tome. It definitely has. Sean saying, I love the update to glory points in campaigns. Felt too unbalanced before. Yes, that is a good addition, mate. I didn't mention on that one. Tim says the injuries table straight out of Burrs and Badges. I think they got a lot of stick the first time around about how it didn't really matter. You can lose it you could lose a character and you just basically you brought another character in with exactly the same stats and the exact same model next time around kind of thing. This way, it feels like if you lose someone, it means something. Or if someone gets injured, they carry that injury over into the next kind of fight, if you like. So, for example, permanent ones stay for however long that model is around. Temporary ones, I think you roll in the what's it called? The kind of like the end phase of I forget what it's called. The time between the different games, you roll on a 1 to a 3. I think it kind of it carries over to the next game on a 4 to 6. It basically gets better and clear. It clears up a bit of cream from the doctor. Tim saying, oh yeah, we've got that one. Fly Marvel says, book to get people excited. I don't know, because they announced all of these things were going to be in here anyway, so people were already excited. Am I going to go and buy the cards just because the kind of things are in this book? I probably would have bought the cards anyway if I wanted to play them factions regardless of this book. And the main audience, maybe the main audience for a lot of these new warbands is existing AoS players who already have those warbands and want to kind of try them out, or players who always want to play Skaven but didn't want to build a big army exactly for AoS or whatever. I just wish they'd released them at the same time. I'd love to have had the cards for my Bone Reapers. I picked this up. I've got my Bone Reapers. I've got my cards. I can go and play with them. Now I've got this kind of campaign for Bone Reapers, and I can't play them. I can't even start building the models up. I can't go and buy the models yet because I don't know which of the Bone Reaper models are going to be in War Cry. So even if they'd kind of said which models were going to be in to give people some time to go and start on a new War Cry faction or something, I just wish they'd released the cards and the Tome of Champions at the same time. Flying Model says, can't wait to start Burrs and Badges as well. Yeah, those models really are sharp. I really appreciate, Tim, you getting me those for my birthday, mate. And kind of a birthday and Christmas gift, if you like. I would never realise just how sharp the details are on them models without kind of seeing them firsthand. I'm going to try and pronounce his name now. Sverig Trotter. I hope I've pronounced that. Nice to see you, by the way. He says, I'd rather play with the cards as well. It just works well. Like yesterday, I had the cards out for my Untamed Beasts. I can really quickly kind of just refer to any stats that I need to think about. What's the range on this weapon? I'm putting my tokens, which show the wounds, onto those cards. You've got that card with the little 3 kind of boxes ticked off. So when I'm using my Plains Runners, I've marked the kind of 1, 2, and 3 on the bases, and I can put the tokens in the right place. I just like having them cards in front of me. I'd much rather play with the cards. So, for example, I would buy the digital version of the Tome of Champions and print off the cards so I could use them. Except the Tome of Champions with those new cards in, I'm not going to be able to get until December. So I'm still going to have to try and buy the cards now. It's not the best. I wouldn't even mind if they were never going to go out of print, and they still wanted to put them into the book at the end of the year, but you could still buy the cards. it's the fact they're going to be limited release is the bit that I'm a bit disappointed in. If they weren't limited release, I just buy the ones that I want when I want them. But this is kind of making people think, if I have any intentions of playing these factions in the next 12 months, I'm going to have to buy the cards now before they're gone. The chat has just jumped completely off the top of my screen. Where am I up to? VG is saying it works for me. The Chaos Warbands are pretty enough. It depends what you want. I really like the models. I really like the aesthetics. I love the background to them. The narrative reasons behind them, I absolutely love. The balance between them and the AoS ones might be a little bit off, but then I haven't done enough time list building with the newer stuff versus the AoS factions where you have to list build because there isn't just a box to go out and buy a 1,000-point warband. You have to pick and choose what you want to build your list to know what models to buy. So I can't tell if the imbalance is between a box of Warcry stuff versus a list built from AoS stuff. I think only time will tell on that one, I think, as we get... Now those new Slaves to Darkness boxes are out, which have like 14 models or something, 20 models in a box. People will start picking them up and kind of list building with them, I think. VG saying, just like why I don't play Necromunda, the gangs are boring. It's personal opinion, isn't it? I actually think some of the gangs are quite interesting, but the game's maybe not for me for Necromunda. But then it might depend more upon if you're looking at it from a competitive side and I'm looking at it from a narrative side. It could be a different thing, buddy. We've got Imagine Acrewood. Hello there, my friend. So I think they decided to hold the unreleased warbands as a second starter set. Have they? If they do, that's quite disappointing because they put the campaigns for them, I think. Did they put the campaigns in the core book? I can't remember now. Actually, I don't even know if they did. But I think it's going to be at least another year before we see another core set. Because a bit like Kill Team, why bother? Why have a completely different core set down the line if you like? Well, I know why. Because that's how they fund more terrain, to be fair. So yeah, who knows? There's a few people saying, yeah, it could be accurate. Peter saying, hope Warcry doesn't become mini AoS. The rules are great. The game is great. I just want to see more Warcry kind of universe in Warcry and it less becoming just another version of AoS, if you like. Dan saying, I think I'm going to be happy just to play the Warcry base box. Feels fairly complete to me. However, I only play with a small group of friends. And that's, to be fair, mate, that's kind of where my head's at as well. Yes, I went to an event yesterday, but I took one of the warbands and I didn't do any list building. I took my 1,000-point Untamed Beasts from the core set. And I have a great time with the game. I don't feel the need to get into the arms race of trying to chase the latest kind of broken list or something like that. I'm buying the models I like the look of. I'm painting them up because I'm enjoying them. I'm playing them because I enjoy the game. And if it got to a point where I was going to events and I was just getting absolutely caned every single time because my warband didn't stand a chance, maybe I would stop going to events and I'd just play campaigns and narrative stuff. If I start playing campaigns with people who are win at all costs gamers, and I'm getting my backside handed to me every game, maybe I don't play them people anymore. The game is fine. It might be kind of how it changes with certain warbands and the attitudes of the people I play against. But I still really, really like Warcry. I think I want to get that point across. I'm not dissing the game at all. I love the fact the rules are simple. I love the fact there's loads of tactics. And I love the fact it's really thematic. VG saying he's glad they're bringing the AoS factions. I think it was always going to happen, mate. But sadly, I would have liked to have seen more Warcry stuff coming at the same time. Flying Ronald saying, yeah, you're right. Personally, I like Warcry because it wasn't any of the Warhammer factions. Now it's a bit annoying, though I'm glad I can use a few old Gobbo stuff. I don't mind the AoS stuff coming in. I just don't want it to dominate. I'd rather have seen like a few more Warcry factions coming through, or using existing models in a different way, maybe. A little bit like Shadespire does, maybe. Using them in a different way rather than just kind of blanket just pulling them through. Where are we at now? And I'm sorry to say I would actually prefer to become AS Warcry, being able to use existing minis and even new bands of existing factions. Yeah, I might be completely alone in this, or might be just me and Ruth kind of thing. But I got into this, and I was interested in this for the theme and for the new war bands that were coming in, and I was getting in on the ground floor. I don't know if I'd have picked this up if it had just been the rules with AoS factions. I'm not sure I'd have picked it up, if I'm perfectly honest. Mark was saying, why do you think they didn't include Corvus Cabal and Co in the tome? Why didn't they include them? They kind of did, in the fact that they've changed the narrative kind of campaign rules. So they've changed for using your Corvus Cabal stuff, if you like, for the original ones. The cards are in there if you didn't pick up a Corvus Cabal warband. The cards are in there as well, so you can see what they do. And I think, is there 2 campaigns in the core book for Corvus Cabal? So they're obviously, let's be honest, they're trying to sell more minis and they're trying to sell more stuff. So this way, by putting these missions in, they want people to go out and buy Ossiarch Bone Reapers. They want people to go out and buy Caradron Overlords and all of that kind of stuff. They're trying to generate more purchases from the people that have already spent money, if you like. Andy saying, cheers, but he just found them. Nice one, mate. As for the tokens, Kirill's in as well. Says, good evening. Hello, man. Dustin is saying, I'd love to get some of the non-Chaos Warbands, but it's too costly to buy different boxes. That is also my point. I wanted to play Stormcast because I love the Stormcast models, but didn't really fancy building a full army. When I looked to see what I needed to buy 3 different box sets to get the models that I wanted for the Warband, which ended up being around £60 or £70. I could go and buy a £20 box or a £30 box of one of the unmade, and I have a full 1,000 points, and I haven't got to worry about list building. I haven't got to worry about all that kind of stuff. If I like the way they did it in Kill Team, where you could play with the models that you were in a box, if you like. So you bought a box of Space Marines. The only things that they could use were the weapons that came in that box. I like the way they did that kind of thing. This one feels a bit more kind of go and grab a box of them and grab a box of them and maybe have a box of these. I know you only need one model from them, but get a box of those as well. They're trying to push that one into growing into AoS a little bit more, where I guess buying the War Cry warbands isn't necessarily a route into AoS. Maybe that's the way they're looking at it. Where are we at? Chris is saying GW has a really inane explanation for the reasons they are naming the books the way they do. Yeah, the 2019 thing baffles me. Voltamons is saying the campaigns really add to the experience. The characters have more weight. I completely agree with that, mate. I think what they've done with the campaign stuff, it really is good. VJC, I'll only be buying the cards for the warbands I'm interested in. As Andy said, for armies I already have or factions I'm interested in. However, you're going to have to buy them when they first come out. That's my complaint. I might quite fancy having a Skaven warband down the line, but I know if I don't buy the cards now, I might as well wait for 12 months until the Tome 2020 comes out, if you like. And Dice Tale saying all the Beast Grave Elves things in it. No high elves in it, mate. None at all. VJ saying there, I get that different strokes. Just glad AoS factions are going to be in now. I always knew they were going to be there. I would have liked to have seen a bit of balance between them. Marcus is saying, I plan to play my Untamed Beasts as Christmas holiday start. Want to have them done before the new year. Contrast pains me. Gulliman flesh is your friend for the Untamed Beasts. They look. It really does look good on them. VJ saying High Elves are not an AoS faction, and Kenothi are not a full faction yet. Correct, buddy. Doug saying, as far as the 2 factions, it's strange. We've seen models at least for the Tyrants. Nothing for the Fire guys. I'm sure they're going to be released anytime soon. Now, there is even, I should say, there's a bit of sneak information here. So this picture here, just trying to see where my microphone was in relation to the camera there. This picture is around the Burning Lords, are a Fire Touch champions who lead the Scions of the Flame. Of these, few can match the burning conviction of Zarthanox, or Nox. For many of Asperia's dreaded, lots of long words I can't pronounce. Talking about a fire slayer wounded by a fire slayer priest. From that day onwards, visions of smoke and ash have raged through his mind. The Blaze Speaker has since led his warband of branded zealots to the Bloodwind spoils in search of living inferno that calls to him always. So there's a bit of talk about the Scions of the Flame in here. And I think it's the Spire Tyrants that we've seen some models of, haven't we? So, yeah, interesting that we've not really heard much about them at this point. Anna there from Red Rose Wargaming, they have split the Warcry starter into 2 AoS terrain boxes. I think they do a new starter box again in 6 months with new terrain, then later convert to AoS terrain. Yeah, I think they'll definitely do the same thing. These boxes are a great way to fund new terrain, which is why you get a load of terrain in the box. Doing the terrain never really sells particularly well if you just bring out a new terrain box and stick it on a shelf to sell on its own kind of thing. It never sells in the numbers that like a new army would sell, if you like. But if you can include it in a new starter box, then basically all of the cost to set up the molds and set up the dies for all this new terrain all gets swallowed up in the cost of a new starter box, and you ship thousands of those, tens of thousands of those, and that pays for your terrain. Then you basically kind of portion it off into new boxes and sell it as terrain down the line, but you've already made all your money back, your upfront cost, if you like. It's almost like selling those terrain in the starter boxes is the Kickstarter, if you like, for having those on the shelf. They did the same thing with Kill Team with the Sector Imperialis, I think it was, and they did the same thing with War Cry with the terrain that they've got now. Carrie's in, play the ruler cool. Yes, me as well, mate. Beyond Hope is in. Good evening, Beyond Hope. Says, question, do you think the new 15 warbands will be taken from existing mini sets, or should we be expecting new boxes? I think they'll take them from existing sets. So just the way they've done it with the existing AoS factions. So if you buy a box of Brutes and a box of Ard Boys for Iron Jaws, that's all of the models in there. Deepkin is split across boxes. Stormcast is split across boxes. I think we'll see exactly the same thing for the new 15 Warcry warbands, AoS warbands for Warcry. Peter says, any hope of using Bretonnians in Warcry? I wouldn't expect there's any hope of you using Bretonnians at any point officially in any GW games for a little while, unless Old World starts to use them again. But of course, you can always use them as something else if you want to, mate. Barry Kleiber's in as well, saying Warcry is still a super fun game on its own. And that is the key point. Let's not forget, no matter how much we get more expansions for narrative campaigns, how many more warbands come into the game, if you enjoy playing the game the way you play it, with the people you play, and the warbands you use, it is still a fantastic game. So yeah, never feel that the game is moving away from you when it's grown arms and legs and, I've felt like that in the past about games. And I've learned that if I'm enjoying the game is still cool. So don't worry about it. Where are we at? They still seeing Bretonnians, proxy as Flesh Eaters and Ideneth Deepkin. Yeah, you can proxy stuff up, but there's no official kind of rules or anything for them. I think that's the point I was making. Mark was saying, I love seeing more new content specific to Warcry that could be pushed into AoS rather than the other way around. I agree, mate. I guess it depends upon how popular Warcry is as a game in GW's eyes. Not in our eyes, in GW's eyes. Otherwise, if it becomes more popular, we'll see Warcry coming across to AoS. If it doesn't become as popular, we'll see more AoS supporting Warcry, because then the development cost is really low at that point. Gene is saying any game is enjoyable as long as you play it with the people. Kind of echoing what I've just said there, buddy. I hadn't read your comment there, so yeah, really, really similar stuff, mate. Foible Games said they spent a small fortune on building some of these warbands. I feel it's going to get worse. Just remember, you can't play them all at the same time. So if you're buying them to paint them because you want them and you love it, go ahead and do it. If you're buying them to play them, just play with what you've got and get some games under your belt and kind of maybe think about it. But yeah, I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Peter saying spending a small fortune goes without saying. Voltman saying we've been proxying minis from Silver Tower, Warhammer Underworlds for AoS warbands, just in case of best fit. Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of Silver Tower minis that are in Monsters and Mercenaries anyway, and a lot of the Underworld stuff, things like the Odd Boys for Iron Jaws are perfect replacements. Dustin is saying the Flesh Eater Court are the only warband you can feel the complete warband out of a Star collecting box. The mate, the Flesh Eater Court really is a good Star collecting box as far as War Cry is concerned, because you also get one of the monsters from Monsters and Mercenaries in there as well, which I think is the Terrorgeist, I think it is. So yeah, that works really well. The rest of them you really do have to shop about a little bit. Christian has very nicely been sharing all the links tonight. Sorry, I've not really kind of shouted them out. I kind of skimmed over them just to kind of mop up on them. So we have there's the Slow Grow campaign for Kings of War. We have the painting challenge over in the BlackJack Legacy Facebook group. There's links to the Facebook group in this chat or in the comments below if you're interested in either of those. There is the Teespring store if you'd like to support with and sort of treat yourself to a t-shirt. Have a look at those as well. So it's teespring.com/BlackJack Legacy will get you there, I think. There's also the Amazon affiliates, which Christian is just sharing there as well. There's the Element Games affiliate link. These are all things where it doesn't cost you any more money, but if you shop through my link, I get a small commission. And of course, there is the Patreon group as well, which very kindly Craig is it Warforge, I think it was, has joined tonight. So thank you very much, buddy. Barry Kleiber there saying Gotrick. Yeah, the Gotrick rules as well are in White Dwarf this month. And that's I like those little kind of fun things to come in. Those little kind of sort of just like little narrative side stories, if you like. That's cool. And Foible's in there as well. Bone Splitters Start Collecting box gives you 2 sets of every card for about £22. Yeah, I think the Bone Splitters one. Is it Bone Splitters you can... What? Not the Start Collecting box, is it the Bone Splitters one? Which one is it? I forget now anyway, but yeah, there's a couple of them like that. That's not too bad, but Idoneth Deepkin, you need to buy multiple boxes of. If you want to buy Leading to the Gash, you got to buy multiple boxes of. There's loads of stuff like that, mate. Loads of stuff like that. Christian saying, don't need to apologise, mate. I post a link so you don't have to worry about it. Thank you very much, mate. Yeah, I didn't want to kind of think I'd been ignoring them, mate. I did see them, and I really do appreciate you sharing those stuff out. So, I have rabbited so much tonight. My throat's drying out. I've not even had a drink of water yet. We've got about 10 minutes left anyway, till towards the end of the chat. So what we'll do for the end, I'm happy to kind of open up any questions anybody's got. We've had some good numbers tonight. We've had about 90 people pretty much from start to finish tonight. So I'm really glad you all came in. Awesome that you can all come and kind of spend some time in here. I open it up to kind of any games you want, any subjects you want, anything you want to talk about. We'll chat about that. I see we've got 10 minutes left. We'll chat until we run out of stuff to talk about, to be fair. So yeah, don't be running off if you think it's the end of the chat. Savage Oryx. That's the ones I was trying to think of, made for Bone Splitters. Lets you build 2 warbands. I couldn't remember. I knew it was one of them, but I couldn't remember which one it was. Yes, that was the one. While I remember on, next week is going to be the last live stream of the year next week. So I'm going to do it. It's on the 23rd of December, the one between Christmas and New Year. I'm actually going away for a few days with the family, so I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break for that week. I probably won't be posting much online. It'll be nice just to have some time with the family, go away between Christmas and New Year and over the New Year with some family, and just kind of relax with them for a bit. So next week, it will be the Christmas stream and probably the end of year stream combined. So please, if you can, come in next week. It will be awesome to see you all. We'll kind of wish each other a nice Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for the end of the year. We'll do something a bit more fun next week. I might do something similar to what I did last year about my kind of awards for the end of the year and stuff. But yeah, we'll have a bit of fun next week. Most people will probably be wrapping up for the Christmas holidays as well. I might even have a nice little cheeky drink as well on next week's stream. Tom the Bomb saying, thanks for all you do. I don't know if that's the Christian or me, mate, but either way, thank you from both of us. Doug is saying, what's your favourite unit of the Untamed Beast and why? It has to be the Rock Tusk Prowler. I absolutely He's a beast. It's the movement. It scares people. You can race them across the battlefield, and people they know they have to deal with it. So you can use it to create openings because they have to basically gang up on it, and they've got to they've basically got to do something about it. I love what I managed to do yesterday was I had a quad which allowed me to give him a bonus move and a bonus attack, and then I attacked twice with his normal attacks, and then I used a double for the beast speaker to basically give him an extra attack again as well. So he was an absolute beast in that game. So yeah, without a doubt. And I think if I do pick up a second box at some point, I'd love to try and run a warband with 2 of those in and see how that went, because I think running 2 of them will really cause people problems, almost like a flanking unit kind of thing. So yeah, probably my favourites. What do you play, Doug? What's your favourite warband that you're playing at the minute? Fly Marcin, will there be Christmas hats? Maybe. Why not? I don't own a Christmas hat, but maybe I might get one. There might be Christmas jumpers. I don't know. I might even put decorations up. Glyn saying great chat night. Thank you, Glyn. Craig Lowther's in as well. I saying love the Judge Dredd models. Very nice to paint. Looking forward to playing a few games with them. When I went down to Warlord earlier on this year and saw those being painted up before, long before they were released, they're studio artists. Some talented painters in there as well, but I forget what she was called, but the lady that was painting them up, she was absolutely knocking them out of the park. They looked awesome. I'm assuming they're the ones that you see in the box art and stuff, so yeah, they were awesome. Foible is saying, do you think Kill Team can learn something from War Cry? I love the deck system in War Cry and would play a whole lot more Kill Team if they introduce something like that. I think what they could learn from Kill Team is probably twofold. One is simplify it further. I like the idea of not having any any kind of saving rolls and all that kind of stuff. Give them more wounds, make them harder hitting without any kind of save rolls, and I think bring in some new factions that are only available to Kill Team, like they did with War Cry, will give people something to buy. I get the impression Kill Team generally is played by people who already have a load of models. I'm not sure how much money they're making out of Kill Team at this stage, in kind of attracting people in. My opinion, from what I've been told and from what I've seen, is it's people who maybe started an army, never got it finished, and have a load of models sitting on the shelf, or bought a Start Collecting box, never got anywhere with it, and they're bringing them out into Kill Team. So I think if they bring in some specific stuff just for Kill Team, I think it might give it another kickstart. And that was definitely what they learned from War Cry, I think. Flying Mama saying his Christmas mug. Hey, who knows? Might be a bit late to get them out of you. Warforge is saying, anyone looking forward to a new Star Wars film? I am, mate. Yeah, I am looking forward to it. I'm busy watching The Mandalorian at the moment. And it's kind of scratching a little bit of a Star Wars itch. I watched a video the other day online. If anybody watches, there's a YouTube channel called Corridor Crew who do a load of sort of special effects videos, and they did a bit of a breakdown about how they did the special effects for Star Wars: A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. And those folks back then, like back in the 70s, really was groundbreaking how they created some of those special effects. Like these days with digital editing and kind of sort of After Effects and all those kind of fancy software, it's very, very, don't get me wrong, it's technical, but it's a lot easier these days. The stuff they were doing was just truly groundbreaking, and no wonder Star Wars caught on back then. It's definitely worth a watch if you haven't seen that. Everyone's saying, yeah, Tim's saying, can't wait for it. Paul's saying Christian's definitely his favourite mod. Carrie's waiting he's going to see it on Thursday. Warforge is going Wednesday. Josh says, oh, good evening, Josh, by the way. Excuse me, I had a sneeze coming on there. He says, are the round 3 deployment cards worth keeping in rotation, or do they just cause mutated game results? It depends, mate, upon what your victory condition is. Some games, if they end at the end of round 3, sometimes it might not help. Some games, at the end of round 4, the battle will continue, but there's a bit of like a shrinking, a bit like Fortnite. There's basically like a wall around the edge shrinks and it gets smaller and smaller. And if you get caught in it, your models are automatically dead. in those games, it's quite nice to have a bit of reinforcements coming on at the end of the game. I think it just mixes it up a little bit, but because there's so many different combinations of win condition versus twist versus deployment versus kind of victory conditions versus deployment versus terrain, that was the other one. I think there is some janky combinations if you like, but yeah, it's definitely worth giving them a go. Peter saying presents. And Doug says that I'm just building my Untamed Beast now, but most of my experience has been the Corvus Cabal. I think at some point, mate, we're going to switch over. I'll be diving into Corvus Cabal at some point. But yeah, after playing Untamed Beast yesterday, I would still say that they are competitive. I think the games I lost, I kind of got caught out because I didn't know what an army did. That's on me. And in my last game, I played it wrong. But I just as easily could have won it if I played it right. But that's on me. That's nothing to do with the warband I had. And I haven't done any list building. Like I say, running 2 Rocktux Prowlers might give me a very different effect, if you like. Two First Fangs, for example, gives you a bit of range across the board. I'd be tempted. I quite like running the Plains Runners. They seem to earn their points. The Prey Takers, I think I would drop in a heartbeat. I think I'd take them out now. Where we at? Mr. Stevenson, hello, buddy. He says, just finishing editing your countercharge interview. Mr. Steve, I didn't know who that was there. Nice to see you, mate. So for those that don't know, Steve Hildrew there is the UK correspondent for Countercharge, which is a Kings of War podcast. I had an interview with Steve on Friday last week, where we talked about the slow grow campaign for Kings of War. So yeah, watch out for that coming soon. If he's editing it now, we might see it maybe Sunday, maybe sometime next week or something like that. But I'll post a link to it in the group as well when that does come out. I had a really, really good chat. And yeah, could have went on all day, that one. Foible Games is spot on, totally agree. I'm not sure what that was linked to, mate, but I'm glad we agree. Peter says, I think Andy's been in my cupboards. Steve said, looking forward to next Monday already. I'm working every day now until Monday evening. I've got meetings all day tomorrow in the office, in the northeast actually, so I'm not travelling. Wednesday I'm working. Thursday I'm in Manchester for my Christmas conference with my company. I'm there overnight. I'm back on Friday, and then at the end of Friday I am finished until the 6th of January. I've got 2 weeks off over Christmas. I can't wait. I might even get some videos made with a little bit of time off. I will be spending some time with the family as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a bit of a break from the day job for a few weeks. Can't wait. Ready to kind of recharge my batteries and come really strong into January with the channel as well. Peter said I have enough models for 100 kill teams. That's what I mean. Games Workshop's not getting your money, buddy. You've already got your stuff. Warforged is saying, love the Mandalorian. Right, I'm trying. I'm assuming that name is. I don't even know how to pronounce it. It might be Dickhand. Hello, thanks for your great content. You are sharing with us. I came in late today, so I don't know if this question's come up already. Will we see more War Cry Chaos Warband boxes in 2020? I did briefly speak about, mate. Other than the 2 that we know about, which God knows when they're coming, I really hope that we do see more. But nothing's been kind of teased yet. I would love to see more Chaos Warbands. That, as I said before, that's what the part of War Cry I love. I'd like to see more. Will we see them? I'm not too sure. I think it probably depends upon how they've sold, really. Because we know the stuff that they've done has basically it's appeared in the Slaves to Darkness battle tome as well for AoS, hasn't it? So who knows if they can find a way to shoehorn it into AoS, then I think we'll probably see it. Dice Hand. Well, that's in Dick Hand. Sorry, buddy. I didn't even see the 3 there. I just saw DIC. Oh, massive apologies, buddy. Dice Hand it is. I'll never forget that name now. Steve saying weekend, I think, depends on the boss. Cheers, buddy. And Daniel says, awesome. Enjoy your family time this Christmas season. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, my little boy's obviously like, he's at nursery all the time, so it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's school holidays or anything like that. Me and my wife still have to work, so he's in nursery pretty much sort of like 4 days a week, every single week, every month. So it's going to be nice to have a bit of spare time. Me and my wife, neither of us working. Our little boy having some time off as well. Seeing the twins staying here with us as well for a week over Christmas. Yeah, it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. Yeah, Dice Hand. I can't even begin to apologise, my friend. What a way to end the stream. Peter says 2 weeks off, Andy. A bit selfish, mate. I'll tell you what, mate. I am ready for it. I am ready for it. Yeah, especially after my early start yesterday for the War Cry event as well. I'm flagging today. And Glyn says, Merry Christmas all. I think that is awesome. Merry Christmas, Glyn, is a good way to end the stream, not by saying Dick Hand. So, again, thank you every single one of you. Thank you so much as well to Warforge for joining the Patreon tonight. Again, as I mentioned, if you would like to support the channel, next year is going to be a huge year for BlackJack Legacy channel. We will smash through 10,000 subscribers next year and push on from there. So if you think in my first year, I did about 1,200 subscribers. By the end of my second year, I think I was up to about 3,000. So I doubled what I am. Yeah, it was just over 3,000, 3,400. I think I doubled what I did in year one, in year two. And then this year I'm going to end on like 7,100 or something else, 7,200. So I've doubled again in the third year. Who knows, next year we could be 15, 20,000 by the end of the year if things go well. But you're going to see so much more content next year. It's been a bit quiet of late because everything I've been doing is setting up all the background stuff to give me a head start in the next year. Yes. It's going to be an awesome year. And with that, everybody's saying good night. Faltamons, I apologise if you just spilt your wash pot, my friend. And I will see you all in the next video and in next week's live stream. Thanks very much for watching, everyone.